לשמחת חיים, לשמחת חיים, לשמחת חיים לכי לך. And you shall be a blessing, you shall be a blessing, you shall be a blessing, Lechi lach.
Atop page 2.
Sit here.
With the illumination of our confirmands quite apparent, we begin this Chag Shavuot by kindling light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu
Hadlikner shel Yom Tov. Amen.
And with the joy of the moment apparent, we rise for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. Your l'chaim is coming. I'll wait for you to have it too. L'chaim. Grapefruity.
I'm going to do the opening thing. And then, yeah. This 10th grade journey we call confirmation is all about confirming what it is about being Jewish and believing we can hold on to that will help hold us up. And when the world is a bit meshugana, we need that search all the more. This year, every Tuesday night, we've explored Jewish thinkers of the past 2,000 plus years, trying to understand how each offers a different vision of what God might be, what our life purpose might mean accordingly, and how it all comes together to help us make sense of our world. Of course, this journey becomes invaluable when our world does not quite make sense, when the big questions we cannot help but ask have no easy answers, and when life's meaning is difficult to apprehend. For then each week's discovery becomes a quest for each confirmand to integrate that covenant thinker with their own life understanding. which is why I can say without question, these are not the same 17 seekers who started with me back in September. Sharing their insights tonight, all of us will see through their questions, their struggles, their purposeful perspective, they have found new ways to understand our world, our life purpose, even how God works in this world. Gifting us with their Sinai statements, or at least snippets of them, you'll see that their entire Sinai statement is in the back of the book, like a yearbook in essence, where their picture is, but the statement or the section of their statement they read is actually the annotated piece of their statement that helps us understand the flow of the service and the spiritual progression, and really will help us discover the insights that lead us to the sacred holy mountain where we receive Torah again. We share together.
Young people spend a lot of their time looking to find God. We're taught to think that God is something from the Torah, the man in the moon, a figment of our parents' imagination. God's image is imperceptible, but as children, we're okay with that mystery. We enjoy the lack of closure, the idea that someone can be so powerful and also so non-existent. However, as we grow older, we search for answers. Teenagers are in a constant state of change, and, as the lyric from the famous song Iris goes, we often want you to know who we are. In this search for a sense of identity, religion often comes into play. We question the foundation of our very life from the ground up. We want to know God, to see God, to understand what God is, so as to better understand ourselves. But some truths are best when they're hidden, and none of us can ever really know who or what God is. Through my years at Larchmont Temple, and through understanding various Jewish thinkers, I've learned that God can be found in the smallest nuances of everyday life. It is only when we are able to find thoughtful moments in the mundane that we are able to connect with a higher power. Early in confirmation, we spent several sessions on Kabbalah. One particular day was all about entrances and how they can be found everywhere, all the time. When a friend helps out a friend, when a person takes a pause in the daily chaos of life, when someone listens to the lyrics of a song, really listens, and takes away a new understanding. Kushner teaches that God's presence is everywhere, and that people don't have to go to Israel, or even a temple, to experience that. As long as we know where to look for entrances, we will always find them. Being aware is all that it takes. Rabbi Serkman taught us Kushner's core values, and I felt myself being open to entrances more often this year. In the fall, I was fortunate enough to travel to Virginia with my parents to visit some longtime childhood friends. And the first night we got there, we went driving around in their car, just the twins and me. We put on our favorite song and drove in silence. And even though I didn't know how to put it into words then, I am now able to say that the sense of something heavy and incomprehensible that I was feeling was an entrance. It didn't mean that I was having a conversation with God or that I was praying, but in those small acoustic guitar breaks, riding with some of my closest friends, I felt like I was seen. I was in touch with a part of me that only comes out in the peaceful moments, when I take a step back and remember what matters to me most, when I sense that I am part of something bigger. I cherish those relationships that are ties of invisible strings, connecting me to myself and others in a magical and wonderful way. They are my entrances to a life force, the connection we share you could call God.
In our modern world, many people feel disconnected from God. We have trouble finding God, which I believe is due in large part to the fact that we don't know where to look. Where can we find God? I believe that the Holy One is most easily found in the feeling of amazement. When I look at a beautiful landscape or a bouquet of flowers, the feeling of amazement I get from seeing something so beautiful is where I find God. When I listen to a song where a musician shows off masterful skill with an instrument, the feeling of amazement I get from listening to something with so much care put into it is where I find God. When I'm on stage at a concert or in a musical, the feeling of amazement I get from my ability to communicate with so many people at once is where I find God. However, these places are not the only places where I find God. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel teaches us that a piece of paper, a morsel of bread, a word, a sigh, they hide a never-ending secret, a glimpse of God. God is found when we allow ourselves to open ourselves and enjoy life and everything it has to offer. The world is filled with wonders. If you can let yourself be amazed or awestruck at the things people take for granted, that is when you'll find God. Some people choose to view this universe as meaningless, the result of simple chance. When you think like this, you shut yourself out from ever finding God. For those who choose to believe that the world is meaningless, that one day automatically leads monotonously to another, the world is meaningless. But for those who choose to let themselves be in awe of everything that is around them, to the miracles within the moments, the world has great meaning, and those are the people who are able to find God. Please rise.
Yada-dai-dai-dai, 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 yada-dai-dai-dai. Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Le'olam va'ed. Yada-dai-dai-dai, 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 yada-dai-dai-dai.
Throughout confirmation class, we have all been introduced to the teachings of many thinkers. But for me, Rabbi Larry Kushner's teachings on interconnectedness were what I connected with the most. He compared life to a jigsaw puzzle, with each person being born with an incomplete set. Everybody must collect the rest of their pieces from other people. These puzzle pieces are delivered by malachim. A malach is the Hebrew word for angel or messenger, and it means one who is sent. When someone is a messenger sent by God, they often do not realize it. They just go about their lives as they otherwise would, but they are part of something much greater than just themselves. Rabbi Kushner describes the experience of being a messenger as something like meeting someone and then later on realizing there was a reason you two had met. One of you had permanently altered the other. Maybe it was something you said or something you did, or it was just you being there, but as a result, the other person was given a puzzle piece. You were a messenger of the Most High. Rabbi Kushner states, if everything is connected to everything else, then everyone is ultimately responsible for everything. We can blame nothing on anyone else. The point of this teaching is not that you are solely responsible for everything, it is that everyone is responsible for everyone else, collectively. We share connection, and in that way bear responsibility with and for one another. Kushner describes us as being within a luminous organism of sacred responsibility. We are all responsible for each other and the state of the world in which we live. Because of our, although sometimes unknown, impact on others, we must all try our best every day to make the world a better place for all. After all, every single one of us is a messenger.
My whole life, I have struggled with the image of God. Growing up in a household where my dad was Jewish and my mom was agnostic, I always had different perspectives to contemplate, for which I am extremely grateful for. I was never given a clear answer on what or who God was, which has allowed for me to interpret it in my own way. My whole life, God has always seemed as though it was a singular vision of an old man sitting in the sky looking down at us. Because of this idea, I often immediately dismissed even the possibility of even believing in God. Through this confirmation year, I have realized that God can be virtually whatever you want it to be. God can represent the best of human kindness, hope, remembrance, and anything else that you would imagine would help you and the world. If I do believe in a God, I believe in a God who empowers kindness and empathy. One key area of Jewish thought really resonated with me. Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, presents the idea that everyone is a messenger. We are all puzzle pieces, and when we share one of our unneeded puzzle pieces with another person who needs it, we make a difference in their life. God is the smile you give to the person walking by, or the empathy that you have towards someone, or when you open the door for a stranger. Whether we realize it or not, all these small key moments in our life make huge difference. When learning about Kabbalah's messengers, Rabbi Serkman had us read a story about a German Jewish woman during World War II. She was on a bus when Nazi soldiers came on to check identification papers. The woman immediately started to cry as she realized her life was most likely about to end. A man sitting next to her saw and asked her what was wrong. After she explained, he started yelling at her. When the Nazi soldiers asked what was wrong, he explained, "Damn her, my wife has forgotten her papers again." This man risked his own life to save a random stranger's life. He was a messenger in its greatest form. You can be a messenger too. I empower you to make a difference in someone else's life. Be their missing puzzle piece. Shine a light that can make God real. As my mom always says as I get out of the car every morning, let your light shine and be kind to those who need your kindness.
Please rise. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'eleh asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlektecha v'derech u'shokbecha uvkumecha u'shartam leot al yadecha v'hayu letotafot beinenecha u'savtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha leman tiskeru va'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yatem kedoshim le'olehem ani Adonai Elohehem asher hotzeti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lehiot lachem le'olim ani Adonai Elohehem.
My whole life, I have always wondered why everyone believes in God. My friends at Hebrew school would ask me if I believe in God, and I would always just resort to saying yes because that's what I was taught as a kid. Growing up, I wondered if this theory was the only way to view God. My main question was, if God exists the way I was taught, why would all the bad things in the world happen? Rabbi Larry Kushner, modern-day interpreter of Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, provides a more comforting understanding of God and has really guided me through many things in my life, whether I knew it or not. According to Kushner, God is a source of power and love that helps people overcome life's greatest difficulties. Kushner believes that God doesn't make unpleasant things happen. Instead, God gives individuals the courage and resilience they need to cope. Everybody struggles with challenging circumstances. In the course of their lives, we frequently find ourselves wondering, why? How will we ever get through? But Kushner's understanding of God allows us to see these difficulties as a change for development and change. For as Kushner perceives, you might not be able to be going where you think you are going for the reasons you think you are, and this is highly beneficial advice. I have come to view God as a force instead of a being,
And because of this, everything, good or bad, happens for a reason. Connecting this back to Kushner's ideas, it helps me make sense of the world. As Kushner teaches, everyone's life is a puzzle, and each thing that happens or person that comes into your life is another piece added or taken from that puzzle. If someone leaves your life, even though this might be a difficult thing to deal with, it's just another step in completing your puzzle. Think of it this way: if a piece doesn't fit anymore, you don't really need it. This perspective can be very useful when facing difficult situations or people. Rather than feeling victimized or powerless, we could view these challenges as necessary components in our life puzzle. They may be tough or painful, but they will eventually foster our growth and development. Viewing God as a life force as opposed to a man high in the sky has helped me feel more in charge and confident on my life path. I see everything that happens, good and bad, as a part of a larger plan or puzzle. God's guidance is there in the form of many messengers along the journey, helping us complete our puzzle.
As Owen and Annie prepare to lead us in the middle of page 7, Michamocha, our prayer, our song from the shores of the sea, praising the miracles then, but as our confirmands are teaching us, encouraging us to open our eyes to see and appreciate all of the small miracles around us at each and every moment.
Mocha ba Elim Adonai, Micha mocha nedar bakodesh, Nora tehilo do seifele, Nora tehilo do seifele. Yai lai 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 la 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 la, Yai lai lai la 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 la, Yai lai 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 lai, Yai lai 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 lai, Yai lai lai lai, Yai lai lai lai.
Throughout my life, I have participated in Jewish activities, such as going to nursery school at Larchmont Temple, going to Hebrew school, and attending Eisner, a Jewish sleepaway camp. I never thought these activities were a big part of my identity. However, as I got older, participating in Jewish activities seemed less like an obligation and more of a personal choice. Attending confirmation this year and being a part of NIFTY has made me realize that being Jewish is something of which I am proud. It makes me who I am. During confirmation, Rabbi Serkman often asks us to contemplate our interpretations of God. The thinker that most spoke to me is Elie Wiesel, a man who survived the Holocaust and published over 50 books, many connected to the Holocaust. His first and most important work, Night, was the one I read in my English class this year. It was not only Wiesel's terrifying story of the persecution of Jewish people that made his work stand out, it was also his wisdom and strength that he possessed to be able to share his story. One of Wiesel's key teachings was that we must all bear witness to the tragedies faced by the Jewish people and do our best to not let others forget. He made it his life's purpose to bear witness to the Holocaust, encouraging people to embrace their Jewish identities. Wiesel's teachings validate my feelings of obligation and make me feel proud to be Jewish, even during a time when embracing it can lead to prejudice and hate. I want to bear witness to Wiesel's experiences and encourage future generations to embrace their own Judaism. To me, bearing witness means being an avid member in the Jewish community, affirming the right to be who we are. I work with third graders every week at Temple, I attend Jewish sleepaway camp, and enjoy Jewish prayer and song. I am a member of NIFTY, an organization that brings Jewish teens together. Connecting a common cause helps us stand together as a community, which is one way to bear witness. Being a proud, practicing Reform Jew, I want to encourage people to feel similarly by embracing their identities, showing others what we stand for, to work together to make the world a better place for all.
Hashkifeinu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Spread the shelter of your peace over us. Guide us in wisdom, compassion, and trust. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Save us for the sake of your name. Shield us from hatred, sorrow, and pain. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim.
Adonai sifatai tivta ufi yagid tefilatecha. O God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. When I started this class, I had no clue what I was getting into. Throughout the course of the year, we learned about many different thinkers who have taken almost every standpoint on what God may be. I feel there is no more important perspective on the topic than Martin Buber's. His philosophy is known as I-thou. Buber's assertion is that a person's relationship with God is most present, most real, within their relationships with others. When I first learned about his thinking, it resonated with me. I'm not sure if it was just because it was easy to grasp or because it made sense, but in thinking about all this, I wondered, why not expand on his thinking and make it more my own? Doing that has led me to the belief that God is constantly present within our lives, as God is present within more than just our relationships. God is present in the deeper understandings and underlying feelings that ground our relationships. God is present in the subconscious space between people, ever influencing those relationships. One example is my relationship with my family. We may sometimes act like we dislike each other for small stretches of time, but deep down, everybody knows that there is an unbreakable bond between us. This is a bond through which I believe God's presence is ever present, as it's the foundation of our lives. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah.
Throughout this year in confirmation, we've had the opportunity to learn about so many different perspectives and views on God. One thinker that gave me a place to begin was Martin Buber. Buber presents us with the idea that the two relationships that are key in our lives are I-it and I-thou. While I-it is more definitive and one-sided, he explains that God can be found in the I-thou relationships. These are the connections between two people in which there is nothing to gain. I-thou relationships have helped me to start to answer the questions of when and how the Holy One is most present. One instance of an I-thou relationship in my life occurred when a few friends and I were leaving a large gathering. As we walked home in the dark, we started laughing and fooling around, but gradually we transitioned to contemplating ourselves, each other, and the future. Another I-thou relationship that I reflected upon was with my grandmother earlier this year. While spending time together and engaging in conversation, we experienced a profound connection that went beyond superficial interactions. Time was irrelevant, neither of us had any specific concerns on our minds, and the conversation was simpler than our usual exchanges. In both of these examples, I was not focused on how an encounter brought God into my life, but how, through sharing in real relationship, the Eternal One maintained a presence throughout. By valuing and embracing these I-thou relationships and others like them, we can discover meaning and the moments when the divine presence is most evident.
Relationships between people come and go throughout our lives, some being long-lasting memories and others being memories that fade. But when relationships matter, they can mean the world. Martin Buber's idea is that human life finds its meaningfulness in relationships. I-thou relationships make us recognize how important and unique human connections can be. This has opened me up to another way to understand God. In Buber's view, all of our relationships ultimately bring us into a relationship with God, who is the eternal thou. Buber understood, however, that often our relationships are I-it, people using people to get what they want. But in those I-thou moments, our lives are changed. One important I-thou moment in my life I have isn't just one memory, but something that happens each summer when I go to sleepaway camp. While at camp, each moment is taken in and considered a special moment. Even though camp relationships can be considered I-it in certain moments, like when you ask, will you do this or will you do that for me? Those little moments lead to larger, more cherished ones. At camp, you feel a special bond with friends that you don't always feel when you are at home. The I-thou connections I've experienced at camp will live on as treasured memories when God's presence was felt in the bonds we shared with each other. Through connections that you cherish in life, honoring the uniqueness of each individual with hearts open to each other, people can cultivate more authentic relationships that help holiness shine through.
What encounters, moments, challenges, questions bring God into my life? There are many ways someone could answer this question, but in my eyes, I believe that God is in the love and compassion made real through relationships, the interactions between people. I and thou is a life philosophy we learned that stuck with me the most. Buber understood I-thou connections are those moments between a person and something or someone else where they connect on a deeper, more meaningful, more spiritual level. In these special moments, Buber perceived, and I believe, that some form of God is present. For me, an I and thou moment I experienced was with my childhood best friend, Sammy. We were sitting on the roof of a sailboat, listening to music and just talking. It felt like minutes, but we talked for hours and hours about life. I-thou encounters are treasured because they are timeless. These moments don't have to be long, but they can also occur in brief, momentary interactions. But once they happen, they seem to last forever. Extending Buber's basic assumption, God is also brought into day-to-day life through little acts of kindness and compassion. They can be as simple as offering someone a smile as you walk by or listening to someone who's going through a difficult time. These moments are what keep society going and what keeps us connected, and they bring us closer to each other and ultimately to God. Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol.
To understand where God is most present, we must first understand where we are most present. My current understanding has led me to the moments in between, either by accident or by design, moments in our day where we aim to exist to do nothing. As when we exist in a clear state, we can attend, become conscious, and truly be present. Rabbi Lawrence Kushner describes God as the one who looks like nothing, relating this to the earliest Kabbalists, where they named God the Ein Sof, the one of nothing. He builds on the concept of light and awareness, following the Kabbalists, building our own ladders from earth to a higher state of being present. When we exist to be aware, we begin to ascend. But first, we must learn to accept and appreciate this state of awareness, because naturally we try to avoid it. Busy schedules, car rides, texting, conversation, just to fill the gaps in our day, when the gaps, the in-betweens, are where we truly belong. Culture has taught us to hate gaps, moments of waiting, stalling, accepting pain, or the consequences of our actions, where we lose control of ourselves to inner hurt, especially because a final existential gap is inevitable. By opening up our gaps, however, we learn to spend more time with ourselves and exist in a state closer to God's presence. These gaps, these nothings, are states of heightened awareness. I soon began realizing my personal gaps, waiting on lines before handing in a test, walking my dogs, moments where I naturally tend to think ahead. Instead, I slowly started paying more attention to these moments and giving them the attention they deserve. First, I started recognizing my own patterns, slowly revealing more and more of my internal habits. Most importantly, I began to harness a deeper understanding of how I interact and maintain relationships with other people. In a sense, I began to understand that we all already have reached Ein Sof, nothingness. if only we can be aware. And that, I assume, is why our in-betweens bring us closer to God. We can never comprehend ourselves, so it is ridiculous to assume God is able to comprehend himself. For God is not a thing to be comprehended. Rather, God is the ever-present one of all being. That is why he is present to us. When we understand nothing, we understand everything. As Kushner writes, you are already everything you need to be. To become aware is to join the Holy One in the act of creating oneself. When we live in those in-betweens without an agenda or things to accomplish, fully within the flow of life's unfolding, doing nothing but being, we become part of the Ein Sof, the eternal nothingness that is everything.
Before coming to my first confirmation class, I did not know what God was to me. In my eyes, God was just some sort of figure above us. However, when we started learning about Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, I found out who God, the Holy One, truly was to me. Based on Jewish mysticism, Rabbi Larry Kushner teaches, entrances to holiness are everywhere. The possibility of ascent is all the time. Even at unlikely times and through unlikely places, there is no place on earth without the presence. This holiness that Kushner talks about, in my eyes, is the possibility of happiness. No matter where we are in this world, we can find a sense of fulfillment or things that make us feel like we have a purpose in life. Two places I feel are my entrances to holiness are when I'm on the baseball field and when I'm at camp. After getting a hit or striking someone out, there's no other feeling in the world like it. It's almost impossible to describe. Time feels like it stops. You feel like you're in another world, yet also so close to the people next to you. Many people, including myself, will say that this is when you're in the zone. However, I now believe that it is much more than that. Feeling in the zone is part of God being there with you, guiding you along the way while doing what you love. I feel God's presence at camp as well. The moments and friends that I've had there will stick with me forever. These incredible moments and friendships have allowed me to see how amazing life is and how lucky I am to have what I have. Rabbi Kushner also once said, you do not have to go anywhere to raise yourself. You do not have to become anyone other than yourself to find entrances. You are already there. Entrances are everywhere and all the time. I know many people whose entrances are completely other things, traveling, singing, or playing an instrument. No matter what kind of person you are, you can find holiness, a sense of higher purpose. We can be different from each other and all feel like we have a purpose. We don't need to pretend to be people who we are not. The most important thing in life is to do what fulfills you, knowing it connects you to the core of all being, the holy entrance just waiting for you to enter. Baruch atah Adonai ha'el hakadosh.
Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Ya'alev Yafu v'Yizacher Zichronenu, v'Zichron kol amcha b'Yit Yisrael lefanecha letovah, u'lechen u'lechesed u'lerachamim l'chayim u'shalom b'yom chag Hashavuot hazeh, Zochreinu Adonai Eloheinu bo letova. Amen. Ufokteinu vo livracha. Amen. V'choshienu vo lechayim. Amen.
Throughout history, Jews have grappled with the relationship between God, evil, and human suffering. Despite enduring personal and collective suffering, those who continue to believe in God acknowledge the ongoing philosophical debate surrounding the existence of a benevolent and all-powerful deity in the face of evil and human suffering. The Holocaust directly challenged the future of Judaism, and thereby the existence of an omniscient, all-powerful God itself. How can the individual find faith in the face of evil when it itself is used as a method of oppression? To address this question, I turned to the teachings of Elie Wiesel. Prior to the teaching of Wiesel's work, my response would have been straightforward: there is no God. Otherwise, such suffering would not exist. However, Wiesel transformed my perspective on faith by helping me understand that evil is an enduring presence. Whether or not God exists becomes irrelevant in the face of this fact, as God does not create this suffering. Despite facing unimaginable suffering during his time in Auschwitz, Wiesel managed to hold on to his religious beliefs. Wiesel found solace and strength in Jewish rituals and traditions, even when they seemed to be linked to unspeakable horrors. He viewed this observance of Jewish customs as a means of defying the Nazis and asserting his humanity. Wiesel's unwavering commitment to preserving his faith, even amidst suffering, serves as a testament to the power of the belief as a source of hope and resistance. Furthermore, Wiesel connected faith with the presence of evil by perceiving God as a beacon of hope, a path to freedom and redemption that transcends the darkness. Wiesel believed that by bearing witness to the horrors he experienced and by speaking out against injustice, he could prevent future genocides. Wiesel's commitment to remembering and sharing his story not only preserves the memory of those who perished, but also serves as a guiding light and a call to action against indifference and injustice. In recent years, anti-Semitic hate crimes have increased 20%, serving as a stark reminder that evil persists. As we cannot escape such evil, we must let Elie Wiesel's legacy guide us, reminding us the importance of bearing witness, preserving memory, and taking action to prevent history from repeating itself. We now take a moment for silent meditation. I have not known a time in my life where the concept of Israel as a Jewish state was a mere idea. Of course, I have grown up debating what it means to be a Zionist, but the establishment of Israel to me was always considered a necessity for the security of Jewish people. How did one man, Theodor Herzl, a non-religious, assimilated Jew with no political connections, come up with the idea of a Jewish homeland in 1897?
How did a young Viennese writer with no ties to Jewish organizations and no financial backing beyond his own resources negotiate with leading figures in the Western world's ruling empires, engaging in what Netanyahu called inconceivable diplomatic actions that would lead to the British Balfour Declaration and eventually the creation of the State of Israel? Most importantly, even beyond what Herzl did, is why. In 1894, Herzl attended the Alfred Dreyfus trial, the infamous anti-Semitic episode in France where a French Jewish army captain had been falsely accused of spying for Germany. Herzl was horrified to hear the mobs in Paris chanting "Death to the Jews." He started to see that the Jewish problem needed to be resolved nationally and politically. Herzl understood that the Jews already had a nationality, and all they needed was a nation with their own political system. He also believed that having a Jewish state that allows Jews to freely practice their culture and religion were necessary for preventing anti-Semitism. A state that would solve the Jewish problem. Some saw a state as the Jewish people's political right. Others, like the ultra-Orthodox, saw it as a defiance of God's will. But Herzl saw with greater vision. As he famously wrote, "If you will it, it is no dream." And though Herzl would sadly not live to see the fruits of his labor, with the Jewish state growing out of the destruction of a Holocaust just 50 years later, we are, to this day, still trying to live out Herzl's dream. As someone who grew up in the peak of social media's existence, my relationship with the State of Israel has always been rocky. I would constantly find myself scrolling through Instagram or TikTok and seeing nothing but violence and the demonizing of Israel. After studying the modern Zionist thinkers, I discovered my Zionist identity and the true importance of Israel's existence. Even as Reformed Jews in America, we are part of the Jewish people and share in helping Israel be a Jewish state for all, living out the values of justice and right, a place of peace that remains Herzl's dream.
Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim, al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed, al shlosha devarim.
Ki mitzion tetzei Torah udvar Adonai Yerushalayim, for out of Zion shall go forth Torah, the word of the Holy One from Jerusalem.
Renew within us, now and in the years to come, the awe and inspiration of that moment when our ancestors promised us at Sinai.
All that Adonai has spoken, we will do. As Israel in every generation confirms the covenant, so with these words we now pledge ourselves to you.
To the pact we made at Sinai.
To the commitment which calls us to live Jewish life.
In receiving Torah in the presence of Sinai, I consecrate my life to my people and to my people's faith. As a Jew, I inherited 4,000 years of sacred history. I accept my heritage as a commitment to continue the Jewish way of life. I vow to Rabbi Life Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonenu, Kadosh Shemo, Lecha Adonai Hagedula, Ve'Hagevura, Ve'Tiferet, Ve'Hanetzach, Ve'Hachod, Ki Cho Bashamayim Uvaretz, Ki Cho Bashamayim Uvaretz, Lecha Adonai HaMamlacha, Ve'amit Na'aseh Lechol Lerosh.
When I came into confirmation, I had no idea what God meant to me, hoping I would have that question answered. As simple of a question as it might seem, it's not easy to answer. Here I am, all these months later, and I still don't exactly have the whole answer, but through the teachings of Eric Fromm, I have found a perspective that helps me find a meaning behind my God. I remember early on in confirmation, probably many months ago, I heard someone say, if we as a world stop believing in God, God in essence would stop existing. He would stop affecting human behavior. He would stop affecting how we act, how we think, how we live. That idea really stuck with me. This was the idea I was searching for. Throughout the weeks, we went through thinker after thinker, idea after idea, and I felt like none of them really resonated with me until Fromm. Eric Fromm, a 20th century Jewish thinker, believed that God is a human construct. We believe in God, the human idea of all we can yet be, to reach our highest potential and be the best selves we can be. God is in our mind. We create him for our own goals. We believe in God not because we know he is controlling everything around us, but because God is in us, our deepest aspiration. We want to believe in God to better ourselves. That is what God means to me. If I believe in God, then it comes from who I want to be. God is there because I want to better myself. God is ultimately my human creation, affecting me to the extent I let him affect me. God is not an all-powerful man in the sky. He is our own creation to help us reach our highest human potential.
Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai Hambarach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher b'haranu mikol ha'amim, v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai Noten HaTorah. Amen.
Anochi Adonai Elohecha, Asher Hotzeticha, Me'eretz Mitzrayim Avadim.
I, the Lord and your God, led you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage.
Lo Yehia Laha Elohim Ahiram Al Panai.
No, not yet. Not yet. Love the enthusiasm.
Did I hold up the number?
Lo ta'asel l'chafesel v'chol temuna asher bashamayim mima alva asher va'aretz mitachat va'asher bamayim mitachat la'aretz.
Loti shachavelech lehem v'lo ta'avdem ki anochi Adonai Elohecha elkanei pokeid avon avo avanim al shelishim ve'al rebim lisonei ve'oseh hesed le'al lafim le'o have ulshamrei mitzvoteh.
You shall have no other gods besides me. You shall not carve for yourself an image, the likeness of anything in the heavens above, or on the earth below, or in the waters under the earth. You shall not worship them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am the commanding God, inflicting the sins of the parents upon their children, upon the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of generations of those who love me and keep my commandments.
Lo tisa et Shem Adonai Elohechem Lasha Kil Lo Yanake Adonai et Asher Isa et Shemo La'ashav. Shall not invoke the name of the Lord your God with malice, for the Lord does not give guiltiness one who invokes his name with malice.
Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho, Sheshet Yamim ta'avod, ve'asita kol melachteha bayom Hashvim, Shabbat la'Adonai Elohecha, lo ta'aseh kol melacha, ata uvincha uvtecha, avdecha ve'amatecha, uvhemtecha, ve'gercha asher bisharecha.
Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz et hayam ve'et kol asher bam.
Vayana bayom haberari hashvi al kain beira Adonai et yom hashabbat vayikadshehu.
Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 6 days shall you labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. You shall do no work, you, your son or daughter, your servants, your domestic animals, or the stranger in your community. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that is in them. Then he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and called it holy.
Kabed et iveha, aviha ve'et imeha, leman ya'arihu imeha al ha'adama asher Adonai Elohecha Elohehu Elohecha notain al lach.
Honor your father and your mother, that you may long endure the land that the Lord your God gives to you.
Lo tirza.
You shall not murder.
Lo teen off.
You shall not commit adultery.
Lo tig nov.
You shall not steal.
Lo ta'are v'reacha id shacher.
You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor.
Lo takmod ve'reyaha. Lo takmod Ishat Reyaha, V'avdo, V'amato, V'shoro, V'amoro, V'ho, Asher L'Reyaha.
You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his servants, nor his cattle, nor anything that is your neighbor's. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Please rise. V'zot Torah asher sa Moshe lifnei bnei Yisrael. Al pi Adonai beyad Moshe. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to them that hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Eitz chaim hi lamachazikim ba v'tomhecha me'ushar. Eitz chaim hi lamachazikim ba tomhecha me'ushar. Shalom, 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 shalom.
We pray. I know, but my mic's on. Let's see.
Test.
We pray.
We pray.
Here,
That's all right.
Here,
No, that's fine.
stop.
No,
You're
no,
fine,
no.
go.
We pray on the bottom of 17. Standing here in the presence of our sacred scroll, our tree of life, we are witness to God's presence speaking through its words as we acknowledge this class of 5783 students confirming their commitment to covenant.
Standing here in the presence of Torah, we are witness to the timeless text unfolding as we gather at the foot of that mountain this moment to hear the eternal echo in our souls.
But Sinai was only the beginning, a journey which must be made in every generation so that the blessings of Torah will never cease to flow. In each age we receive and transmit this teaching. At all times its words speak, if we will hear.
In each age we add our insights, harvesting with the planters who have come before us. Each new generation must tend the tree of our tradition in order for fruit to grow. Sinai is our new beginning, its echo calling us to transform tomorrow, its covenant to keep the commitments which guide our lives.
Sinai is every moment that the scroll comes to life through our search. Sinai is every moment that our learning bears blessing through our lives.
up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true,
to bring about redemption. It's what we were freed to do. What's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? It's time to live our race.
We are carrying the stories of the ones who came before.
What stories will be told of us when we are here no more? We commit ourselves to action, giving meaning to our days.
Alleluia, Shabbat. It's time to live our race. It's up to us to own the vision. We are an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. Alleluia, Shabbat. It's time to live our praise. Alleluia, Shabbat. It's time to live our praise.
To be honest, I'm standing here today because my parents told me I need to participate in confirmation. I don't really think about God. In fact, I'm not sure if I believe in God. So when faced with the question of what is God, it's hard for me to answer. In thinking back about scholars, we learned about the one that makes the most sense to me is Kabbalah, notions to tikkun olam, repairing the world. Rabbi Isaac Laura teaches that when creation happens, God's presence filled the entire universe with light. The story goes on to describe that the light of God's presence filled the vessel, radiating throughout creation, but the vessel was too fragile to contain God's light and shattered. Scattering the light all around, humans were created to gather the sparks that have been hidden, and to restore the broken vessel so that the world will be complete and perfect. This is the idea of tikkun olam. Over the 20th century, the idea of tikkun olam in Reform Judaism has been more about repairing the world by humans trying to fix things in the world that are broken. People without enough to eat or a place to live or the mistreatment of our environment. There are many things we need to fix. We can do our part in repairing the world by doing nice things for other people or working for social justice. This is what I connect to the most. It isn't the idea about God, that God is found in things we do to help our world. It is more tangible and action-oriented. I'm an engineer and I create and build things, mostly for fun, but also to make life easier and better. I go to camp at URJ's SciTech, and this summer I'm going to do Sci Tikkun Olam and learning about how to use STEM to help repair the world. I hadn't really thought about it much before, but now I know that as I'm think about, create and build things that make life easier or better for other people, I'm doing something connected to God, doing Tikkun Olam, helping to repair our world.
The concept of God has been a central part of human culture for millennia, and it is often seen as an explanation for the unknown or the unexplainable. It is indeed true that humans tend to create beliefs about things they do not understand, and the concept of God is no exception. Throughout history, many civilizations have developed their own beliefs and deities to explain natural phenomena such as lightning, thunder, earthquakes, and other natural disasters. In ancient times, these were seen as acts of God or the gods, and humans offered sacrifices and prayers to appease them. Erich Fromm, a Jewish philosopher, believed that people have a deep need to feel secure and part of something greater than themselves, which religion and the belief in God can provide. He thought that the idea of an all-knowing and all-powerful deity gives people a sense of security in an unpredictable world. However, Fromm also warned against using religion to avoid life's challenges and responsibilities. He believed that true religious experience requires facing the difficulties of the world and engaging with it, rather than just escaping into an idealized vision of God in the afterlife. In this way, Fromm's views on God reflect the tension between our need for security and the challenges of living in an unpredictable world. As scientific knowledge advanced, some of these natural phenomena were explained through scientific theories and principles. However, even with these explanations, there is still much we do not understand, such as the origin of life, consciousness, and the nature of the universe. The concept of God has thus persisted as a way to explain these mysteries. In addition to explaining the unknown, the concept of God has also been used to provide comfort and solace in times of hardship and uncertainty. It can provide a sense of meaning and purpose in life and offer hope for an afterlife. My brother Jacob and I tend to get into very deep conversations about religion and politics because our views are so similar. He lost his best friend Miles to suicide about a year and a half ago. It was an extremely hard time for him, and one day when we were talking about the concept of the afterlife, he said to me that after Miles died, he started to believe in heaven because it's comforting to believe that your loved one is in a better place. However, the belief in God has also been used to justify war, oppression, and discrimination. Different religious beliefs have often been in conflict, leading to war, violence, and division. But I believe in individuality. If there is a God, I believe that God is simply another name for the force of nature or the circle of life. Maybe God is another name for karma or fate, or even the energy that surrounds us. It's always or maybe this or maybe that because God is a mystery. There are over 7 billion people on this planet who each have their own thoughts and feelings, so it's basically impossible to have a single set definition of God. Overall, the concept of God as being a being or deity is more of a belief that humans have created to explain what they do not understand and to provide comfort in difficult times. While this belief can offer comfort and meaning, it can also lead to conflict and division if not handled with care and respect for others' beliefs. That's why it's so important to simply let it be. Don't shove your beliefs in other people's faces. Trust me, no one cares. But also, don't criticize others for what they believe in. Maybe someone believes in God and prays to God every night because they have a sick child and can't afford to get the medicine, or perhaps they were just raised that way. It all comes down to one thing. God is the force of humanity. God doesn't exist, but God also doesn't not exist. God is human kindness. God is the cruelty of the universe. God isn't some white guy with a really long beard sitting on a cloud. God is whatever you choose God to be.
So we're just thinking one word, which is sort of wow, right? Because each of you are so different and unique, and yet you've shared stuff and discovered stuff along the way and become more aware, more adept, more attuned, more understanding of who you are and your place in the world. And so we're sort of awestruck at your insights, discoveries, all the stuff you bring. But what is pretty wild, if not ironic, is you don't know what you've done. You showed up every Tuesday night. Many of you, as you've already admitted, especially at the beginning, having no clue why. But you kept coming, encountering God thinkers. The pizza was good, but once 7 o'clock started, you actually sort of drank the Kool-Aid. You were part of it. You still didn't know why, but you were here, trying to figure out to find your way somehow. And whether it was Rambam's Road to God or attempting to follow the 4 who entered paradise into Kabbalah, wandering through 2,000 plus years of God wrestling, grappling with ageless struggles, getting lost in the questions none of us could fully understand, somehow this Shavuot night, after all you've taught us, after all you've become, you have somehow been found. Thanks in no small part to one another. No two of you are the same person. In fact, you are all wonderfully unique individuals. But you listened and learn from each other. Even if you didn't agree with the other person, you became a sacred support group. I would call it Sacred God Seekers Anonymous. Knowing that through the answers, though the answers were beyond you, asking the questions and sharing the conversation was a revelation. And so, sharing your Sinai statements tonight, you have revealed a key lesson that will guide you throughout your lives. It comes in a three-part thing because I always share things that are three parts. Ask them, they know. Tonight, number one, what have you become? You are teachers of Torah. Along with Buber and Rambam and Fromm and Beck and Heschel and Philo, the list keeps going. There is Gross and Epstein and Mansell and Metch. Right. Were you waiting for me to say your name? I'm not going to say every name. Come on, Emma. But you know that you get the point. All of you are sacred God thinkers. What you think matters. And I will speak for them. Your insights, and by the way, their full Sinai statements were in the back of the book. Almost nobody had the whole Sinai statement there. But if you read these Sinai statements, what do we realize? You guys actually think something. And it really makes us understand you're struggling with this, and you've come up with something that could make a difference in somebody's life. It speaks to you, it could speak to somebody else. So you are God thinkers in your own right, so do not lose your Breed books. Keep writing. 2, you are model mensches, a shining example of what happens when people get together and actually accept each other's opinions, or are at least open enough to listen and support each other in becoming what they can be. And number 3, you are keepers of covenant in the best possible way. In fact, you are a microcosm of what our community means. It means when a bunch of folks, let's say 17 10th graders, get together on a regular basis, something magical can happen. We shared our closing circle Tuesday night. We passed that little Torah around. You each shared a little bit of what you had taken away. What I didn't say Tuesday night, but what I was waiting to say is, you have that Torah with you all the time. It's inside you. And when you connect to it, when you access it, when you share it with each other, God's presence is real. It's pretty awesome. I told you that I do lots of things in Temple. I do nothing more important than getting to teach the 10th grade. Because tonight, it's not just you who have been found. It's me too. Because as I struggle with you, and as you struggle with each other to try to figure out what life's about, somehow you help me find why I'm here. I could not be more grateful. Yes, I love you. You are Schmendricks, but I love you. And the gift of confirmation is you love each other. And so God's presence is manifest between us. That's Cirque theology. We'll talk about that more. Post-con at the diner starts October 16th, 6 o'clock, 6 to 7. No better way to spend an hour, right? We bless the food, no matter what you order. It's kosher in my mind. We order between the time that the food comes and when we order is exactly 14 and a half minutes. It's a perfect time for a mini lesson, something topical. It'll connect to our theme. Next year's theme is the 75th of Larchmont Temple and my 36th year as a rabbi. And so there's going to be tidbits from both of those things. I'm going to bring you old paraphernalia, old stuff, right? And it's going to be a lot of fun. Don't miss it. On behalf of all of the people who are here, all of your parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, what we say is thank you for teaching us, for inspiring us, helping us receive Torah again this Shavuot. You have made God's presence real. Mazel tov. We rise as one congregation before we call on Steve Lehman to remember the teachers of Torah in our own lives, those who've taught us their Torah that lives in us. I ask you even to close your eyes if you can. Maybe you're remembering a life teacher from years and years ago. Maybe you're remembering a parent, a friend, a grandparent, somebody whose wisdom still lives in you, somebody whose love lives in you. In gratitude, we share Yit Gadal v'Yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah Be'alma Divrach Yerutei V'Yamlich Malchutei B'Chayechon V'Yomechon U'V'Chaye D'Chol Beit Yisrael Ba'agala U'Visman Kari V'Imru Amen Yehei Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Olomei Olmaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei d'kudsha berichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran ba'alma v'imru amen Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom Bimromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael. V'imru, Amen. Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be our blessing. Amen. Please be seated.
Good evening. I'm Steve Lehman, Executive Vice President on the Board of Trustees and President nominee, not yet President-elect. I've told the Secretary to find me the votes, but so far just hasn't. But if you're around June 12th, annual meeting, come on, or send in your proxy, do your part, we can make this the reality. But I want to welcome you all here tonight, and what I'm here for primarily is to wish congratulations to the class of 5783. This is naughty. I don't have the lavalier. I got to keep turning back and forth. This is tough because I want to talk to them. They want to talk to. But all of you just did a spectacular job. Either Sinai statements, Owen, Lila, Alex, Nate, Lily, other Owen, Nate, other Nate, Theo, Max. Over on this side, I got to switch sides. I got to keep moving this around. Here we go. Rachel, Alex, Emma, Hannah, Annie, other Emma, Zoe, and Alexa. I think I got everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. But you guys are moving around a lot. It's tough to find y'all. But your Sinai statements were spectacular, or the excerpts that we heard and the full ones that we read were spectacular, and shows to us how much you've done this year and how much you've achieved and absorbed through it. And I don't know when you came here if you were looking for answers. If you were looking for answers, you didn't get them. You found them yourselves. If you didn't find answers yourselves, you found questions yourselves. You found things you wanted to think about more or find out about more. Some of you, like Nate, just came because your mother and father said you needed to, which is fine. That's the fifth commandment: honor your father and mother. I mean, that's what better thing could you do? But you all gained so much out of it, and you showed so much to us of what you've learned. You studied great thinkers. The rabbi didn't mention the one that I think you may have gotten the most from, which is Serkman. And Serkman is a wonderful, wonderful person to learn from, and I hope you all maintain your relationship with him and with the rest of our clergy as you go on into the things you do next. And I hope those things include things that are part of Jewish life and part, hopefully, of our temple. There's the diner dialogues, which has already been pitched to you. There's Madrahim, there's Larfti, there's other, things, there's Nifty. You go on to college, and there's Hillel. And there's lots of ways of living Jewishly, and sometimes it doesn't even involve an organization. Sometimes it just involves taking the principles and the thoughts and the questions that you've gotten from this and finding a way to make that part of your life. And that's great too. But whatever it is, we hope you carry it with you. We're all so proud of you. I look out at your parents, your grandparents, it's your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, the person down the street, whoever came here to show up for you, and I'm sure is wishing you well. And especially the entire congregation, really, is here with you and so proud of you. And so, classes 5783, I wish you congratulations and Chag Sameach. Good night, everybody.
Hi, everyone. For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Rabbi Eve Rudin, and I'm the Director of Education, Youth, and Families, which means that I met some of these young people, Max in particular, when he was in 3rd grade. He doesn't even remember this. But when I was hired, I came on the last day of religious school that day, and I remember Max as a 3rd grader. I don't mean to totally single you out, except that I do mean to totally single you out. And it's just been a pleasure to be with these young people all of these years. And one of my favorite texts, Steve said all the things. There's Larfty, there's Diner Dialogues, there's all the things, there's trips, all the, so many ways to live Jewish life here at Larchmont Temple and outside of our doors and in the greater community. But one of my favorite pieces of text is that Judaism, it's wonderful that we're all going to get a book tonight. We're going to get a Tanakh, and this is a Jewish textbook. It's a book filled with Jewish text. But all of us here tonight have become text people. And you have, just as everyone has said, you've done a search yourselves and hopefully taught something to yourself, but more importantly, you've taught all of us tonight. And I know that we will all walk away being impacted because you are all text people. So it is my pleasure. These are also marked, each Tanakh. Their names are in the Tanakh. It matters which ones. Oh, okay. Then it matters which one they get. Okay. So I don't know who's on which side. So you'll just come up. Owen Barnes. Okay. Lila Epstein. Oh, stay up and stay up. Rachel Freeland. Alex Gross. Over here. Alex Kerr. Emma Lassman. Nate Lipton. Lily Mansell. Owen Master. Hannah Mailer. Nate Metch. Theo Norkin. Annie Orens. Emma Post. Zoe Stahl. Max Suchman, who I've singled out. Alexa Tannenbaum. Oh, and Alexa. I should have said and Alexa Tannenbaum. Mazal Tov to all of you.
As we rise from
for our closing song, reminding you that we share in the traditional celebration of Shavuot.
Can you get back there?
Sunday,
Can you get on the microphone? Let's just do this.
And so we're going to join back in the garden room. Right? And the confirmation will join you there in a moment. They're going to put their robes back. You're not taking the robes home, all right? You can't take the robes home. Our closing song, Bless You Up.
No.
No, it's
L'Dor
not.
Vador.
No, it's not. I lied. It's L'Dor Vador.
We already said it.
We are gifts and we are blessings. We are history in song. We are hope and we are healing. We are learning to be strong. We are words and we are stories. We are pictures of the past. We are carriers of wisdom, not the first and not the last. L'Dor Vador, Nagi God Lecha. L'Dor Vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'Dor Vador, these gifts will praise your name. Chag Sameach, Mazel Tov. L'Dor Vador. L'Dor Vador, Nagi God Lecha. L'Dor Vador, we protect this chain from generation to generation. L'Dor Vador, these lips will praise your name.